So you're thinking about living in Traverse City, Michigan? After living in the Traverse City area, well, for my entire life, I know literally all the best things about living here in Traverse City. I also know all the worst things about living here in Traverse City. I've even seen people move here and totally regret it after a few short months. In this video, I'll be breaking down the real pros and cons about living in Traverse City. I'll be covering everything from housing to the job market, schools, food, and everything in between. Hey, I'm TJ, Northern Michigan real estate agent, and this channel is all about helping you move to Northern Michigan. Subscribe for more local insight, and if you're thinking about moving to Northern Michigan, reach out. I'd love to chat, and it's really the conversations that go beyond these videos that are the most important. Let's start with a big fat con. The job market in Traverse City is not the best. If you're looking for a city like San Francisco or Atlanta where there are tech hubs everywhere, then this is not it. We do have Amazon, but we don't have any of the other major tech companies. People are not flocking here to make, say, $500,000 a year from various employees. That being said, we do have a few industries that are major employers here. For example, in healthcare, Munson Hospital is a huge employer. And we've had a few people move to the area that have been wealthy enough to be able to donate money. So we have a Cowell Cancer Center hooked onto Munson as well that's provided a lot more opportunities for people to feel good about being in the area and needing that care if anything ever comes up. We also have some growing investments in clean energy in the Traverse City area. For most recently, the Lear Traverse City plant is expanding. Should add almost 100 jobs with a $28 million investment. So a lot of these types of things are happening because Traverse City is a growing city. And you can't not talk about tourism when it comes to the job market in Traverse City. The tourism industry is live and well all summer long in Northern Michigan. From restaurants extending hours to pop-ups popping up, the entertainment, all of the restaurants, and even providing housing for a lot of the people that work within the restaurants and the entertainment industry here in Traverse. A lot of people make a lot of money in the summer months in Traverse City, and that's just the reality of living here. For example, my buddy, he makes probably about 80 to 90% of his money during the summer months based on all the tips and the influx that we see with all the tourists in the area. Let's jump to the first pro of living in Traverse City, and that is the commutes. Living in Traverse City, a 10 to 20 minute commute is very common. Some people are less than that or even walking distance. There's just not as much traffic here as compared to some of your bigger cities out there. The worst you'll ever see of it is downtown Traverse City in the summertime. There's a road called M72, or also known as Grandview Parkway, that cuts right through the heart of Traverse City. It's not some major highway, it is a 4-lane road. So even during the summer months, it might take you an extra 20 or 30 minutes to get to your destination. If it's not in the summertime though, you can get from the west side to the east side of Traverse City in 8 to 10 minutes. So again, that is the worst of it. So you're really not gonna encounter any kind of traffic that's that bad in Northern Michigan. Another thing that's noteworthy about our area is there's not a lot of car accidents. People here are actually pretty good drivers. Thing you might have to watch out for is the occasional bad driver that's usually a tourist in the summer. Or we do have deer that fly out of the woods crossing the road, which account for a lot of car accidents in our area. And if you're not familiar with winter driving, that could be one thing that could be a little iffy. So make sure you do your research about winter driving here in Northern Michigan. Another pro I want to highlight is the safety and cleanliness of living here in Traverse City. There's very low violent crime. Now, I'm not going to try to give you all these statistics. You can do that research on your own. But I've lived here my whole life and I hardly lock my truck. And you just really don't hear anything about murders or terrible crimes like that happening in the news. If something minor does happen, sometimes it's turned into a big deal because it really doesn't happen here in Northern Michigan. There are excellent 911 response teams all throughout Traverse City. So if you've lived here a long time, you probably have many friends that work in law enforcement or on one of the EMT crews around the area. Furthermore, all the public areas are really well maintained by the community. All the parks, the trails, the beaches are going to be pretty clean every time you go and visit. There are community programs like leaf pickups and Adopt the Highway to keep the area clean and special. So that takes me to another con about living in the area, and that's the education system. According to niche.com, the Traverse City Area Public Schools is rated a B+. So this is basically the school system that you'd be sending your kids to if you live in Traverse City proper. As you can see in the screenshot, it breaks it down by diversity, club activities, and many more. So just make sure and do your research. And if you want your finger on the local pulse of the area, feel free, reach out to me. One thing I do want to highlight that is really an incredible thing in the area is our early college program. So the 2-year program technically starts in 10th grade and ends with your quote 13th year. And at the end of that 13th year, you'll have 2 years college credit or even associate's degree. all while completing high school with no additional tuition. The really cool thing about this program is available to all the schools outside of Traverse City as well. Now let's talk about one of my favorite things, which is the food and entertainment here in Traverse City. Now, if I made this video 5 years ago, I definitely wouldn't have quite as much to talk about. But over the last 5 years, there's been a ton of development. Whether it's restaurants, live entertainment, or maybe some higher end dining, you have a lot more options to choose from these days. Let me talk about a few of the higher end offerings, like The Pub, which is an Irish place. We also have Amical, Red Ginger. There's a wide variety of restaurants if you're looking for that high-end experience. There's also a ton of original little hole-in-the-wall bars around town. One of the great things about Traverse City is you're not gonna find all those chains. You're gonna find a lot of more family-owned local businesses. So it comes to some of the bars, you and I lounge as Great Euros. My favorite spot with my wife is Bootleggers and Dillagers, also known as the Double Wide. Brady's has some of the best chicken wings in town. And then you can go and swing that pendulum and go all the way to a really high-end bar called the Low Bar for those custom handmade cocktails. So let's jump to the next pro, which is one of the most important things here in Traverse City, which is the outdoors. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I talk about the outdoors a lot. And you know that Northern Michigan has pretty much everything available outdoors. You're surrounded by some of the biggest freshwater lakes in the area in Lake Michigan. You got the Sleeping Bear Dunes on the west side of Traverse City over in Leelanau County. You have rivers, trails, beaches, skiing, snowmobiling in the winter. There's ice fishing, there's regular fishing. You will see all kinds of outdoor activities. And if you can't find something you're looking for, I guarantee you there's a group out there. Just Google it or give me a call and I'd be happy to hook you up with them. You might have some of the best outdoors, but you also might have the next kind of my video, which is the nightlife. Traverse City is a city, but it's really not a New York or a Chicago. Even during peak season, so some of the bars in Traverse City during the summer months will stay open till 2 a.m. at the latest, but off the peak season hours, they're usually closed at 10 or 11. Traverse City is definitely not a city that, quote, never sleeps. We sleep and we love our sleep. Let me take you to our next pro, which is something that's really niche about Northern Michigan, and that's our lake culture. There's a lot of lakes here in Northern Michigan, but the big thing is there's a real culture about being on the lakes. So for example, my family spends every weekend on a small lake called Lime Lake in Leelanau County. My grandpa developed the south end of Lime Lake in the early 70s, and we've been spending time there ever since. But that's just not a my family thing. Families that have been here a long time find that lake that they latch onto, and that's gonna be the place they go and the place they bring the kids for the rest of the time up here in Northern Michigan. A lot of the people that visit here in Traverse City will spend some time checking out all the different lakes in the area, but they usually tune in on that one that just is that special place for them. Each of the lakes around here are gonna have a different set of characteristics, from how big it is, what sports you can do on it, how many people live around it, etc. On the lakes, depending on the size and the depth, there's all kinds of activities from boating and tubing. There are certain lakes around here are known just for their fishing if you're looking for bass or perch. A lot of people enjoy water skiing, tubing. You'll see some paragliding and parasailing going on in the local lakes as well. And I didn't even mention Lake Michigan, which is one of the biggest freshwater lakes in the world. On Lake Michigan, you have access to some more bigger water things like charter fishing, big sailboating, yachting. There's even a local cigar boat race that comes into town that races in the bays here in Traverse City. Let me jump to one of the more important pros about living here in Traverse City, and that's the housing. Now let me show you this absolutely ridiculous chart about housing prices here in Northern Michigan. If you look over the last 8 years, Traverse City homes have literally doubled. Traverse City is special because of the variety of real estate that you can purchase in the area. You could buy a lakefront property. You could even find a really nice house in a neighborhood that's nice, for trick-or-treating with the family. Or you could get a little outside of town and find some rural acreage. There's just a lot that's to be desired, as you've heard throughout this video, so which makes it very competitive here in Traverse City. Which takes me to my next con, which is the housing competition. Especially at the lower price points, like below $500,000, it is very challenging to buy a home here in Traverse City. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've helped many people buy houses in that price point. There's just a lot going on with the tourism and investors and everybody that's been finding out about our little place here in Traverse City. So investors will come to Traverse City and buy up homes just to rent them out for Airbnbs and short-term rentals. There's also those people that just fell in love with Traverse City and moved here during the pandemic and relocated here just like you are thinking about. There's also those people coming to the area and buying that special waterfront summer home, and they leave it vacant sometimes year round. All these factors make it very difficult to be competitive here in the Traverse City marketplace. So if you're thinking about moving to the Traverse City area, please give me a call. There's just a lot to navigate when you think about moving to the area and finding that perfect piece of real estate. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.